I am Dr. Jasim Ahmed from Institute of Advanced Studies in Education, Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. Today, we are going to discuss module number 21 and the topic is Teacher Education for Sustainable Development, in which we will cover the themes like meaning of sustainable development, education for sustainable development, concept of teacher education, and the last one is the nature of teacher education for sustainable development. Dear learners, let us first discuss the meaning of sustainable development. The idea of sustainable development is not a new one. It is the foundation for environmental conservation movement. The concept of sustainable development is based on three principles. These are number 1, development and use of new resources, number 2, prevention of wastes, and number 3, benefit to many and for many generations. Sustainable development emphasizes the need to view environmental protection and economic growth as mutually compatible, non-conflicting objectives. No country can develop economically without providing a healthy environment with basic necessities of life to its citizens, otherwise development will not be sustainable. In reality, sustainable development seeks to maintain an acceptable rate of growth in per capita real income without depleting the stocks of natural resources. Hence, conservation and recovery or recycling of material resources, pollution control and waste reduction and management are the main goals of sustainable development. This idea was very clearly depicted in the World Conservation Strategy of IUCN, that is International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources, in the year 1980. It states development and conservation are equally necessary for our survival and for the discharge of our responsibilities as trustees of natural resources for the generation to come. The word trustees used by IUCN in the above statement itself reflects the responsibilities on the shoulder of every global citizens. As a global citizen, all of us are responsible to conserve and protect environmental resources, use them in most judicious manner and take care for the future generation. You must be aware that India is a country of farmers. Ours is an agrarian economy. We must not forget that several indigenous approaches used by our farmers for retaining the fertility of soil, for example, green manuring is the best example of their efforts of living sustainably. Contrary to this, the modern agriculture system uses heavy doses of fossil energy and chemical fertilizers like urea, potash, phosphate, etc., which in turn releases massive amount of chemicals and organic residues to the surrounding environment, resulting into soil fertility loss and environmental degradation. The United Nations World Commission of Environment and Development published its report in the year 1987 titled as Our Common Future, commonly known as the Brundtland Report, which focuses on the one central theme. It states many present development trends leave increasing numbers of people poor and vulnerable and at the same time degrade the natural environment. Their conclusion was that man requires new, more ecologically sustainable and socially just approaches to development. Many of these approaches are not new, as discussed earlier, have been practiced by indigenous people in many parts of the world for thousands of years. It was this commission which defined the concept of sustainable development as a development which meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generation to meet their own need, WCED 1987, page 43. As you can see, the definition of sustainable development see itself as a process which requires that the use of environmental resources by one group of people does not jeopardize the environment and well-being of people in other parts of the country or the world, or destroys the chances of future generation to satisfy their reasonable needs, wants and aspirations. The focus of sustainable development has broadened it is thought to have three major concerns. These are environment, economy and society. These three have human beings at the center and overlapping one another. For example, a healthy and prosperous society relies on a healthy environment to provide food and resources, safe drinking water and clean air for its citizens. In brief, we can say that the key components of sustainable development are: number 1, we must understand the ecological, social and economic systems and their interdependence. Number 2, we must celebrate biodiversity and diversity in cultures, equity and the rights of future generations. And number 3, we must appreciate ethical issues and the need for caution and judgment. And number 4, all of us must act with responsibility in our daily lives. To develop the qualities, understanding and practices with regard to sustainable development, we need to have well planned and organized a school education curriculum which focuses on and directed towards sustainable development. Dear friends, let us talk on the theme Education for Sustainable Development, ESD. We know that education is one of the essential tools for achieving sustainability. In addition, public awareness and training may be conducted to move the society towards sustainability. The scope of sustainability is very broad and cannot be tackled by any one subject. There is a need to address the issues of sustainability through all subjects. Therefore, while designing a school curriculum, we need to focus the 4 key components of sustainable development in minute details and incorporate them in the school curriculum as a whole and in all subjects separately. We need to reorient our existing education system and develop public awareness and understanding through mass media, social networking and training to address the needs of sustainable development. Lots of work have been done in this area which you must have studied in previous modules, especially the modules related to approaches for environmental education at a school level curriculum and another module which is related to environmental ethics and sustainable development. Dear learners, you must be familiar with the concept of teacher education. In very short, teacher education refers to a program or course meant for initial preparation of teachers, popularly called as pre-service, and continuing professional development of practitioners, that is in-service teachers. Teacher education is of crucial importance as it helps in professionalizing the teaching field, improve student learning and contribute to the overall success of a school education, as there are no any international standards existing in teacher education. Different countries have different nature and extent of teacher education curriculum in practice. In the same way, there are no international standards for education for sustainable development in teacher education. Different nations develop and follow different models of teacher education that suits their needs and future aspirations. Let us discuss in detail the main theme of the module, that is teacher education for sustainable development. We need to bring changes and reorient school education towards sustainability. As the success and failure of a school education solely depends upon its teachers, we require preparing such teachers who can fulfill our aspirations and work as change agents towards sustainable development. For this, we need to look into our teacher education program and redesign it accordingly. The publication of guidelines and recommendations for reorienting teacher education to address sustainability, UNESCO 2005, has proven to be a popular document as countries around the world examine what it means to reorient education to address sustainability and how teacher education can contribute to that process. Some important steps that can be taken up to redesign and reorient teacher education for sustainable development are: number 1, institutionalizing teacher education. There is a need to institutionalize teacher education to address sustainability. For this, we need to reorient curriculum, programs, practices and policies to address sustainability at institutions of teacher education. Number 2, developing mission statement. One of the powerful ways to reorient teacher education for sustainability is to develop a mission statement containing education for sustainable development, and it should serve like magnetic north with which all coursework and efforts must align. The mission statement will drive the vehicle of teacher education and will put it on the right path. Number 3, creation of new courses is another way for advancing education for sustainable development forward, in which a new course is created focusing on education for sustainable development in teacher education programs. Universities may adopt this paper in core components of the teacher education programs or maybe as an elective paper. Number 4, new certificate and degree programs. We can also carve a certificate or degree programs in ESD, that is Education for Sustainable Development. For example, Webster University School of Education USA offers Certificate in Education for Global Sustainability EFGS as a part of MA degree in Education and Innovation. University of the West Indies runs Masters in Teacher Education MEd, in which ESD is a theme. Similarly, it offers an elective in the name of Literature and ESD, as well as Changing Cultures, Changing Schools, in which ESD or Education for Sustainable Development is infused. At IAC Jamia Millia Islamia, there is an elective paper on environmental education for sustainable development in its B.Ed and MA education programs. Number 5, assessment and evaluation as a means to focus on ESD. One of the many strategies to institutionalize any educational practices is to include it in its assessment and evaluation components of their curriculum. When teachers, students and administrative staff are evaluated in terms of sustainability practices, it will be automatically strengthened. All aspects of teacher education programs should be assessed also in terms of ESD. For example, Muter Teachers College of Zimbabwe reported that they have revised the teaching practice assessment proforma to include assessment of education for sustainable development. Number 6, developing professional standards for teachers. This may also prove to be a powerful way to institutionalize ESD. This may be done by including some elements of ESD in the national professional standards for teachers. If an individual pre-service or in-service meet these set standards, only then they should be qualified to be appointed or continued as teachers. For example, the new standard of the State of Washington Professional Educators Standards PES has incorporated the requirement that all beginning teachers are able to prepare K-12 students to be responsible citizens for an environmentally sustainable, globally interconnected and diverse society. Program Approval Standard Knowledge and Skills 2011, Wheeler 2013. The goal is to prepare sustainability literate teachers for a school system. In the Scotland Professional Standard of Teaching, Education for Sustainable Development, Global Citizenship and Outdoor Learning are considered to be different aspects of a wider agenda that is called as Learning for Sustainability LFS. India also needs to set such standards and evaluate pre-service as well as in-service teachers on those standards. Number 7, accreditation standards for teacher education institution. Accreditation is the most powerful tool to maintain quality output provided it works reliably and validly. In many countries, teacher education institutions undergo periodic reviews by national councils or agencies to maintain their accreditation. If an institution maintains accreditation, it is allowed to continue with the program, and if it fails to attain accreditation, its recognition is cancelled and it stops functioning. Unfortunately, in India, we have failed to achieve it, and our NCTE could not play the actual role which it was supposed to play. We need to bring reforms in our policies, structure and functions of NCTE to provide functional and effective teeth to the esteemed agency. Number 8, change in pedagogy. Like other aspects of teacher education, pedagogy is also needed to be changed to keep pace with the global acceleration of change. Education for sustainable development requires far-reaching changes in the way education is often practiced today. UNESCO 2012a. It requires applying new pedagogies that stimulate learners to ask questions, to analyze, to think critically and to make decisions that are cooperative rather than competitive in nature, and that are student centered rather than teacher centered. Instructions should have a shift from rote memorization to participatory learning. It should also have a shift from the classroom centric to community centric. When we use a variety of teaching techniques, it automatically addresses equity, which is one of the greatest challenges of social sustainability as well as common theme of teacher education. Exposure of learners to a variety of teaching techniques that engage students of different learning modalities, for example, visual, auditory and tactile kinesthetics, addresses quality in teacher education. Number 9, use of literature to address the problem of violence, infusing ESD in the curriculum. We may develop the understanding of sustainable development among the teacher educators and pupil teachers through lectures, discussions, PowerPoint presentations and projects. In doing so, we reflect on a number of issues related to the environment, the economy and society, and encourage them to pursue further research and projects in this area. Students may find and present material on various sustainability issues. The text concerning contemporary issues of violence may be analyzed. The students and teachers both may keep and maintain journals that reflect their experiences with and responses to the violence. These may serve as powerful text for understanding violence and charting a way for peace. Sustainable development does not require only in the area of environment, but it is needed in all walks of life. Number 10, sustainable school campus. The Sustainable Campus program provides funds for schools to renovate their campus through a variety of initiatives. They can purchase and use energy saving appliances and implement water recycling and reuse system. A school outdoors may have increased permeable ground surface and artificial wetlands. They may create multi-layer plantations for carbon dioxide reduction and biodiversity and composting foliage and kitchen waste. In addition, they may plant educational organic farms or construct eco ponds. The so-called sustainable school campus and activities and programs related to it will develop the concept and habit of sustainable thinking in the minds of the learners. Dear learners, let us discuss some case studies. It may give you an idea how we can bring improvement in our teacher education programs with regard to sustainability. Let us see the first case, the case of Swiss International Teachers Program. An experiment was done at Lawrence Bynes, Florida Gulf Coast University, USA, wherein the university developed a program titled as the Swiss International Teachers Program, SITP. It was a custom designed 4-week university based experience for elementary and secondary teachers. Participants were subjected to live together in an apartment to make them exchange ideas and discuss the best practices that lead to new perspective about education, about culture and sustainability. The primary purpose of the program was to provide integrated learning experiences in which participants study ecology, economics and social and political issues pertinent to their respective countries and the world. Participants in the program learn to engage in team problem solving and critical thinking by managing a fictitious country called Ecoland, utilizing a computer simulation program called EcoSys. The program generates a macroeconomics database that allows participants to understand the cumulative impact of their decisions on Ecoland. Field trips, cultural programs and community interviews were also organized and conducted. Each week, participants had to respond to a survey evaluation and formal evaluation at the end of the program. The program had a positive impact on participants' understanding of ecosystem and the interrelationship between ecology, economics and social issues in dealing with issues of sustainable environment, societies, communities and families through the EcoSys simulation program and the field activities. The second case is bringing students' community experience into a school. A research project titled as Listening to Children, Environmental Perspective and the School Curriculum was conducted by University of Bath, UK. This one-year participatory action research project was conducted in partnership with teachers, 11 to 12-year-old school children and community representatives. The L2C, which is called as Listening to Children project, provided an opportunity for the school to work in partnership with parents, children and local volunteers to develop a curriculum that relates at the same time to educating for sustainable development, that is ESD, and to citizenship. For 12 months, the researchers including child researchers studied children's local environmental perspectives. The focus was on how children perceive their surroundings and act within their local environment and community. The researchers also examined how children make senses of their surroundings in relation to their lives and to the school curriculum, and how schools might help children incorporate local environmental perspectives into their curriculum experience. The study found that the young people have desire for a school to address community issues within the curriculum and for a school to play a much significant role in community development. The project explores conditions necessary for children to be fully involved in developing a community related school curriculum. It proved that such projects have potential to contribute to education for sustainable development and to the promotion of local environmental citizenship. So, today we have discussed about the meaning of sustainable development, meaning of teacher education, the idea of the education for sustainable development and what should be the nature and forms of teacher education which may prepare school teachers for a society which practices the principles of sustainable development. Hope you must have understood and grasped the themes discussed and you will apply this knowledge to enhance your practices. Thank you so much.